We should have a bipartisan approach to fixing this problem, which is a long-standing problem.
But what are those solutions?
The solution includes putting resources at the border to do what we can to process people effectively, and putting in place laws that actually allow for a meaningful pathway to citizenship.
I do know that there's a lot of people that do care, and I think we live in a compassionate community. So, before we go down the road of, doing what, following suit on some of these other cities are taking action on, my idea would be let's find out. Let's find out who's willing to help. We do hear from constituents on both sides of this. What are we going to do to preemptively stop this? And then we hear from people that tell us we should do more. So, we do have a very affluent community, a lot of big homes. And what I'd like to do is direct staff to create a sign-up sheet. So, for individuals that would be willing to house migrant families. And if there's people that would do that, God bless them. So if we could raise awareness in that way, I think we need to find out. I think we need to find out who would be willing to house migrant families. And so that would be my new business. I'd be looking for support from the dais. Any questions, discussion, happy to have that.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the illegal immigration crisis that is happening in these liberal cities, because things are just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And it looks like in 2024, the best story of 2023 is going to continue. It's only going to get worse, okay? As what you just saw there was Naperville City Councilman Josh McBroom essentially advocating for illegal immigrants to be housed with the residents of that town. Now, Naperville is a wealthy liberal suburb outside of Chicago. They voted for Joe Biden at a staggering rate. So, hey, this is what some of these people are advocating for, right? Some of these liberals are coming out here and saying, hey, maybe, just maybe, we should take the illegals into our homes, right? We should be placing them into people's homes. Okay, that's probably the next step in regards to what's going to happen here, because in cities like New York, for example, the migrant shelters are full, and they're so full that they're now evicting the migrants out of the shelters after about 60 days or so. And the woke revolutionary activists are outraged over what is happening, okay? Because again, these people believe that we should be sheltering illegal immigrants into perpetuity, okay? And I personally believe that the next step really is going to be to try to force some of these migrants to be moved into people's homes. And I think that the first people they should start with are these people right here, because they seem to really want the illegals to be housed no matter what.
So because of the cold weather, there's been a lot of attention on migrant families who are being evicted from local shelters after 60 days.
All right, Fox 5's Morgan McKay live outside the Roosevelt Hotel in Midtown. And Morgan, both immigration advocates and local politicians are demanding an end to this policy.
Exactly, Stephen, Teresa. As everyone knows, it has been freezing out here, and this new policy that evicts migrant families with children after 60 days has been in place for almost 2 weeks. Now, behind me, you can see the Roosevelt Hotel. This has been serving as a welcome center for newly arriving migrants, and now the reticketing center for migrant families with eviction notices.
Our mayor is a slumlord.
City council members and immigration advocates blasting Mayor Eric Adams and his administration for implementing a policy that evicts migrant families with children after 60 days. If these families cannot find their own housing within that time, they have to return to the Roosevelt Hotel and reapply for shelter. While a similar policy for single adult migrants has been in place for several months, this new recent policy change that now impacts migrant families with children has many, including the city council speaker, pushing back against the mayor.
Now, I want you guys to notice this, right? I want you guys to notice this. Look at all these men, right? Look at all these men, okay? Single military age men, right? These are the people that are coming across the border. I don't see too many women and children. I'm not saying I don't see none, Clearly, there are a decent amount of those, but a vast majority of the illegals are single military age men. And when you have a bunch of single military age men coming into the country illegally, what do you think are the consequences? What do you think are the consequences? We're already seeing fights break out at these shelters, brawls break out, people getting stabbed, people getting killed, and it's only going to escalate and to get worse. But this is what is being allowed and imported into our country thanks to the Biden administration. But again, this is what we're seeing here. Young military age males.
Against the mayor.
I urge the mayor to abandon this counterproductive and cruel tactic and instead pursue more sound management.
Last week, the administration amended this policy so that pregnant migrants in their third trimester and women with newborn babies will not receive eviction notices until their babies turn 6 months old. In response to the rally, the Adams administration says they've had to make these drastic policy decisions because they're out of room and resources to care for such a large number of migrants, calling again for a federal solution. More than 170,000 migrants have received care since the spring of 2022, and 68,000 migrants are currently being housed by the city.
Again, another long line of men. All these males, these single military age males should be deported, right? Again, if we had sane people running this country and running these cities, there would be a mass deportation operation. And we'll be telling these single military age men, hey, look, you're not really here seeking asylum, right? Like you got to go back and do what men have to do for their countries, because you just can't come over here and take up all the resources in the space, right? You just can't do it. It doesn't make sense. There are stories where you have women sleeping outside in the cold that are having seizures and medical emergencies, freezing to death, because we're housing men, right? You have men that are being provided with beds that women aren't getting. I think at the very least, you got to send the men back, right? You got to get up on out of here, right? You might be able to keep the women and the children. I think there's an argument for that, even though I think that, hey, we really shouldn't be incentivizing anybody to come up over here, right? But the men, at the very least, you got to get up on out of here, right? They got to be the first to go, okay?
Speaker Diana Ayala disagreed with the mayor that the city is out of room.
I've been in meetings where I have been told directly that one of the motives for this policy is really to make people uncomfortable enough. So I don't believe that the mayor is being honest.
Advocates also say that moving kids around to different shelters disrupts their education, with some kids being forced to bounce around to different schools.
They have not been getting all the help this administration claims they've been giving them. These human beings are being moved from shelter to shelter. Shelter staff have lost their mail and say that since they moved, they had to return their mail to sender. These are life-changing documents.
Are any of these people gonna let the migrants into their house, right? Are you gonna open your door and let them stay with you, right? Because let them stay with you first. Take about 2 or 3 or 4 single military age men and you house them first, right? Because again, what they're protesting about is that they're saying that, well, this policy is intended to make the migrants so uncomfortable that they leave, right? Which, in my opinion, I mean, hey, if this is what it takes to, make them say, hey, we got to go somewhere else, it is what it is, right? But again, if you're going to advocate for them to stay in perpetuity, to continue to provide taxpayer dollars and to pay for this stuff, to give them this free shelter that we're not giving to our own folks, then you need to open your doors and take them in, right? You take them in first. Once you take them in, then we can have a conversation. But even then, we still should not be forcing taxpayers to pay for this stuff. My point is that these same people that want taxpayers to foot the bill probably aren't paying taxes themselves. Okay, they're probably living off the system, and they aren't going to sign up to house these migrants.
Now, according to a recent Siena College poll that came out this morning, more than 80% of New Yorkers say that the recent migrant influx is a serious problem. Reporting live, I'm Morgan Mackay. Steve and Teresa, back to you.
Yeah, so that's New York. Now we got to go out to Denver, because Denver, just like New York, is now proposing massive budget cuts to fund aiding the illegal immigrants in their city. And for Denver, this is just getting started, right? For Denver, this is going to get a lot worse. They're already boohoo whining and crying, and they just started receiving their fair share of illegals.
On Fox, our one-on-one interview with Denver's Mayor Mike Johnston. He tells us that the migrant crisis could cost the city of Denver $180 million just this year.
That's a lot of money. And here's the thing. He's asking city departments to cut up to 15% from their budgets to cover that cost. Well, what does that mean for city services? Will people have to lose their jobs? Fox 31's Carly Moore is on it. She's live in Denver this morning. And we really don't have a ton of answers to those questions yet, do we?
We really don't, Kirk. Ashley, good morning. But we do know that because of this migrant crisis, city services are going to have to squeeze. The mayor calling it a dilemma, just the details kind of few and far between at this point. But here's what you need to know this morning. So just a few hours after the mayor announced this to city council, the mayor explained the details to our Jeremy Hubbard on a tour of cleaned up encampment sites. He's looking to cut $180 million, that's about 15% of the city budget, to deal with the migrant crisis. For perspective, $180 million. That's more than the entire budget for the Department of Parks and Recreation, more than the entire budget for the city's housing and homeless efforts, all combined. The city has already paid $38 million to respond to this crisis. And if things don't change, the bill in 2024 will be even bigger.
Isn't that crazy? Ain't that crazy? How the cost to take care of illegals, okay, the amount of money that they're willing to spend to take care of illegals is more than the amount of money they were willing to spend to take care of the American homeless people, homeless vets. They're already ready and prepared to cut the budget, 15%, to cut back on city services, sanitation, education, parks and recreation, other activities that help fund and run the city. They're already willing to cut back on it to take care of illegals. A bill, a cost that is already higher than how much money they were willing to spend to take care of American homeless vets, homeless folks. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. These Democrats are showing you that they are America last. Every chance they get, they show you we don't really give a damn about the American people. But yet these individuals still line up and they vote for this, even though these politicians clearly don't have your interests, your best interests at heart. They're more worried about everybody else in the world, right? They're worried about everybody else and not the American people. And they're showing you right to your face.
As a department head, your goal is always how to find the things you can cut that don't directly impact services as much as possible. We don't want to close down rec centers or stop picking up trash or paving the streets or take officers off the streets. And so we got to prioritize in that. But so what they'll do now is take a hard look at their budgets and see what their options are. And we'll come back and look at them and see what we could do without trying to really directly impact the city as much as possible.
Yeah, well, start with the administrative salaries, right? Your salary as a mayor, okay, everybody under you, all the administrators, cut your 15% off first, right? Before you start cutting from services and outright firing people who are doing these essential jobs, right? Just make sure you cut from the administrators first, right? Do that first if you're going to make these cuts for the illegals.
Now, the influx of migrants continues to grow. More than 4,800 migrants are being temporarily housed by the city right now. More than 37,000 have been transported here in the last year. Now, the mayor says without the help of neighboring cities, those cuts might even have to be even more severe. He adds that 7 buses of migrants arrived just this weekend. Really, frankly, the city's running out of room. So really, they're looking into other options. Instead of housing these people, they're looking to possibly just getting them a ticket out of town. Live in Denver, Carly Moore, Fox 31.
All right. Yeah, so, oh, boo-hoo, 7 buses, right? 7 buses is so many migrants, so many illegals. Again, imagine being Texas. These people are already at their breaking point, right? They're already ready to ship the illegal immigrants to other towns and cities to put them on other places. Ain't it amazing how that works? When these people show up to the Texas border, Texas doesn't get to choose and to boohoo and whine and cry about how many illegals are coming through the border. In fact, they don't even get the opportunity to control the border, even despite the fact that the Biden administration is refusing to enforce the laws on the books, right? The Supreme Court just ruled yesterday that they're basically going to allow the Biden administration to stop Texas from protecting their own border. Again, absolutely amazing. This is what's happening in our country. The federal government's not doing their job. The states, the border states, can't defend and protect their own borders, despite the fact that the Biden administration is not doing their job. Okay, and then you have these liberal cities boohoo, whining, and crying because they're getting exactly what they asked for. Right? It's amazing how that works. But as you can see here, okay, you have the woke activists essentially demanding that taxpayers continue to foot this bill. Okay, you have these liberal cities now cutting budgets, right, because of what's happening. Okay, this is the result of progressive liberal policies. This is what you're voting for if you continue to support Democrats and vote for Joe Biden in 2024. I'm so serious. If there's one issue in which you say, no, we cannot vote for Democrats or can't support Joe Biden in 2024, this has to be the issue. This has to be the issue. What is happening at the border is a national security issue, and it has to change. We cannot continue to have this, okay? We can't continue to have it. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.